Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kurtiwada. In this video, we will learn about unit testing on our content projection concept. So I have explained about content projection using Angular components in my Angular tutorial video. I'll provide the link in the description. Please watch that for better understanding. Let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code. So here I have created an Angular project and we are running a Angular project with two components, that is app component and a child component. This child component is embedded in my app.component.html and I am trying to project some content from my HTML, that is a parent HTML, to the child HTML. Let me show you the demo by going into the browser. Let me go into the browser and here you can see this is my parent and this is my child, and all this content whatever I am projecting from parent, it is displayed in the child, and I have a button called as update parent element. When I click this, it is updating the content which is projected onto my child component. So in this video we will try to test these two scenarios and we'll try to understand how we can test this content projection. So let me quickly jump into the Visual Studio Code, and now what I'll do is just I'll go into the app.component.spec file, and here I'll create two elements. One is a fixture element which is like component fixture and which is of type app component. Let component instance which is of type app component. And now let me inject my child component as it is a dependent component. I'm injecting in the declaration. And now let me create an instances for this by using testbed dot create component of app component, and I'm creating a component instance which is equal to my fixture dot component instance. So I have created my fixture and component instance. Let me zoom a bit. So now I'll create a it description, and inside this it, let me post component content projection testing using selectors. So let me get a callback function, and inside this callback function, let me update my fixture dot detect changes. And once this detect changes is done, fixture dot whenever it is stable, then I'll be getting a callback function, and for this callback function I'll be using wait for async. Why? Because we are injecting one component to other component. It may take bit of time to update and use all the elements of the child component. For that sake, I'll use wait for async. Wait for async will wait until the internal dependent code is ready for execution. So now after this, what I'll do is just I'll go into the app.component.html. Inside this HTML, we have an ID. This ID will be projected onto child.component.html. So first we'll target for this selectors. Whenever this selector is moved onto the child, it should be the first element inside this div. For that sake, let me give one ID called as child container. This is my ID. Let me save this, and now go to your spec file. Let me get that ID by using const ID selector, which is of HTML head1 element, that is heading element. We can get this by using our fixture.debug element.native element.query selector of the ID, whatever the ID we are passing. Here I am passing the first as an ID, so let me use hash and pass this first. Now I'll be getting this ID selector. So whenever this ID selector is projected onto my child component, then it should be the first element inside this div. So let me get that. Go here and const child div, which is of HTML div element, and then let me use fixture dot debug element dot native element dot query selector of, it is also an ID, so let me use hash. And now that hash is equivalent to your child container. Pass here inside the string, and now you will be getting this child div. What is our expectation is expect child div which is having a children, and inside that children it should be the first element. So let me use 0 dot inner HTML, that should be equal to my ID selector dot inner HTML. Whenever the ID selector inner HTML matches with the first element of the div, then our expectation will be reached, and it will be equal to your h1 tag, that is heading tag. Let me save this and check the output. So 2 are success. Now let me use one more expectation. Create a const class selector. I'm trying to create a class selector. That class selector is passed from my parent HTML, that is equal to your heading 2, which is a class. Let me go here and create HTML heading element. It is also a heading element. So create that heading element and assign it with fixture dot debug element dot native element dot query selector of, it is a class. So let me use dot and pass this class name heading 2. Now I have passed this class name and I'll be getting the class selector. Then our expectation should be equivalent to your child component where I am showing this heading. So this should be the last element of this div. So inside this div we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So fifth element inside this div will be equivalent to the content which I passed from my parent. So let me go here and write our expectation. Expect of, I'll be having a child div, and inside the child div I have children's, and inside this children let me use an index value. So index value is 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, fourth index. So let me pass the fourth index and use inner HTML, which should be equal to the class selector dot inner HTML. So this way we can check our class selector and it has been successfully passed. Now let me create a element selector. Const para element selector. This time we want to find the element selector. So for finding the element selector, we have to use an element called as paragraph. But if you go to the child component, we have lot of paragraphs. If we are using only a query selector, then we will be getting the first occurrence of this paragraph. So I have to use query selector all. So let me go here and HTML para element, which is an array type, and use fixture dot debug element dot native element dot query selector all, and I need to pass a element that is paragraph. So I'll be getting array of paragraphs. So let me save this, and now our expectation is this paragraph should be in the ninth line. That means para 1, para 2 and para 3. So that should be in the third index of paragraph, and it should be the third index of your div, that is child container. So let me write our expectation. Expect of child div dot children of, inside this children it should be in the third position. That means index of 2 dot inner HTML dot 2 equal of my para element, that is the paragraph element where it is. So inside the child 1, 2 and 3. So that means the index of 2. Let me use the index of 2 on para element selector, which is an array, and 2 dot inner HTML. Let me save this. So all the selector has been passed successfully and it has been executed as expected. So the other scenario is whenever I click on this particular button, then it has to update my paragraph element. Let me go to the spec file and create one more it statement, and this time I'll use update content projection value, and it will be getting a callback function. And inside this callback function, let me update my fixture dot detect changes, fixture dot whenever it is stable, I'll be getting a callback function which is a promise based, and inside this promise based I'll write a callback function. For this I'll wait for async to load, and once it is loaded I'll try to execute my code. So let me go to the app.html and create an ID for this button btn underscore update child. So let me use this ID, save this, and go to the spec file, create const btn element, which is of type HTML btn element, and which should be equal to your fixture dot debug element dot native element dot query selector of, what is my selector? The ID. So let me use hash and pass the string. You'll be getting this button element. Let me click this button element dot click event. Once this click event is triggered, then it will start calling this update para element, and it will update my paragraph by using this method. So if you go to the app.component.ts, we are updating the dynamic content from tag to element. So it has to change the paragraph, that is the third paragraph which we are passing here. So let me go to the spec file and update the fixture dot detect changes, and fixture dot whenever it is stable, then wait for async, because again it will re-render whole logic. So let me use async and pass it as a callback function. Inside this callback function, let me test our paragraph. So already we have tested in the before one. So let me copy this and paste here. We are getting all the paragraphs, and this time our paragraphs should also equal to our element tag, which is updated by using app.component.ts, that is equal to dynamic content. So this dynamic content will be having an element that will be prepended by using my para. So our expectation is para element selector should be equal to the value which is displayed on our child div. Let me save this, and now it has been successfully passed. Let me go here and reload. It has been successfully passed. So by clicking that particular button element, even then also it is going and updating my child component.html. So that is how you will be testing your content projection in Angular. And also, I want to let you know about Techshareskk. Techshareskk is a platform on Medium where you can learn all the backend stuff. Mainly, it is focused on the Adobe Experience Management, Magento, as well as OSGI, along with the basics of Java. And you can see the Sling framework completely. So just have a click on the link below in the description and have a look on this Medium blog. If you like, please like, share, follow Medium blog. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.